Hello, hello, hello.
How's it going?
I'm doing all right. How are you today, sir?
I am doing well.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Can't complain too much.
Well,
Another day in paradise.
Yep.
The old office cliches.
This is paradise for us. The show Cause and Defect.
Mm-hmm.
It's the show for serious conversations with not so serious people.
Yes.
You're here with Brendan Jones and Chase Duncan at episode 17. Today we're going to talk about the film industry and its potential corruption.
Yep.
Mostly the corruption.
I guess we can also address our... we decided to basically come out with episodes not every week.
Bi-weekly episodes.
Yeah, bi-weekly at the furthest extent.
Yeah, and it'll be still every other Sunday. But we will be posting every 2 weeks. It fits both of our schedules a little better, gives us a little bit more time to come out with things. Plus, to be honest, we're not getting enough views to really warrant every single week.
Yeah.
So bi-weekly is going to work.
It's a million views an episode or nothing. Okay?
That's right. Hell yeah. I need to get paid $10,000 an episode.
That's right.
But today we're going to start with one of our favorite games called Animations Gone Wild, where we will present a brief one-sentence and
little synopsis.
A hilarious synopsis.
Yes.
That's what I was going to call it. And the other person's going to have to guess.
Humorous, if you will.
Yes, I will. And the other person's going to have to guess what animated film that is.
To start off the day, we must discuss...
That's right. We do have another beer, as usual.
Yes, we do. Today is... who is this? Oh, Highland Brewery Gaelic Ale.
That's right. It is a classic. I am a big fan.
It's a bit nutty.
It is a bit nutty. It's got a little bit of that burnt malty taste, which I really like.
Only if it's light, though. I feel like if you get that in like a stout or something,
which is an imperial stout.
Yeah, it can be a little overwhelming. I had an imperial stout over the weekend that was 9.1%, and it pretty much just tastes like drinking alcohol, like straight alcohol.
Have you ever had a beer over 10%?
Yeah, I think so.
I totally haven't. I've had one that was like actually
imperial
really
stouts,
good.
man, are
really
just
good.
If you can mask it enough and still make it flavorful, I'm all about it.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's just like the alcohol just cuts through the taste of it, I can't do it.
It's
I'm
tough.
too weak of a man for that.
That's why I don't really go after imperial most of the time.
No, never.
Because imperial, it's something with the malt that gets me. I'm not a huge fan of the malty flavor. Mm-hmm. Like I really hate malt balls. I can't stand Whoppers.
I was thinking more like Colt 45s or like stuff like that, like malt liquor.
Yeah,
right, for malt balls.
I have done Edward 40 hands though.
Nice. And
I'm proud of my time.
I haven't done it. I've only had 140 in my life, and it was the only thing I had at the moment, so wasn't by choice.
The game is, if you don't know what Edward 40 hands is, everybody, you strap two 40-ounce malt liquors and or beers to your hands. That's
so
right.
You can't use them.
You can't use the bathroom either until you're done. That's a big part of it. Is they both have to be taped to your hands until you're done.
80 ounces minimum of liquid in your stomach.
That's
before
right.
You can
and
go pee.
If you ever do find yourself playing this game, ladies and gentlemen, my advice to you is longevity and pace is the key. Pace is the key. People are going to be chugging their asses off right away, and you're going to be sitting there slowly chugging yours, and they're going to laugh at you at first, but you're going to surpass them because they're going to hit a brick wall.
Okay. I don't play.
That's how I won.
Maybe I will
when I did it. You just
steady.
Slowly tip it and just constantly kind of drink a little bit,
so it doesn't feel like you're hardly drinking anything.
That's right, and it'll go right down so much faster than anything.
Slowly pour it down.
That's right.
Maybe you don't get all that fizz too from chugging it down.
That's right.
That's probably helpful.
You'll burp less, and you people just get carried away with trying to win.
Yeah. Is it like?
It's a game.
Yeah, I was about to say you race each other.
Yes,
I guess,
that's right.
Okay.
So
I thought just finishing was a big enough accomplishment.
Well, it is. It is a big accomplishment. But if you get it done in under 30 minutes, then that's really good. I did it in like 25 something, I think.
That's impressive.
It doesn't sound like it.
I mean, it does. I mean, that's 80 ounces of liquid. That's a lot of stuff to drink.
It
in
is
25 minutes. My stomach would be hurting. Mm-hmm. That does sound impressive. Absolutely.
And you have to really pee afterwards.
Yeah.
Really pee.
Your whole insides are about to blow up.
Mm-hmm.
So today's topic. Did you say that already?
Yeah,
you did.
I talked about I said it was going to be the film industry, mainly corruption.
I missed that whole part.
Yeah, and I will, in case I don't say it later, I'm going to go ahead and disclaim to you that most of the research that I did was it's like an hour and 20-minute documentary called Out of the Shadows, which I would recommend you watch yourself.
I think they say it on there, but like once there's so many coincidences start getting a little conspicuous.
That's how I feel about a lot of life is they expect a lot of things that seem purely coincidental to just go kind of brushed under the table, and they don't for me.
Well, yeah, a lot of people though they do. Obviously, the majority of people they do until they see stuff like this. Like I don't pay enough attention to that kind of stuff to have ever been able to point that stuff out. I can't say I'm that aware.
That's why it's nice to have it all kind of put together for you like that. But maintain a skeptical eye when you watch it, as you do with anything, or you should with anything. Remain skeptical.
Well, I think what I have will pair nicely with what you're talking about too, because mine was mostly from like encyclopedias and stuff like that, and I think it'll fit in well with like what actually happened, because this is kind of like the hard notes of it. Yours is from a documentary where people can bluff things if they want.
Right.
So I think they'll fit in nicely together.
Okay.
Which I probably should have read over these since I wrote them like a week ago. But
probably. Yeah, we got put behind on this recording. But that's part of why we are jumping back to doing every other week. It's going to make it easier on us. So thank you guys for understanding. Yeah,
we were having these kind of pushbacks already, and then having to stress and kind of under-prepare for things. I know that all of our episodes are going to be ongoing. All the topics we discuss are going to be ongoing, and we're going to do it multiple times. But it's like always after we talk about something, I'll hear something from whatever I'm listening to and be like, damn it, I wish I would have mentioned that. But it is what it is. But you always learn stuff. Every day you learn new stuff, and that's what I said. That's what we've always said. Eventually we'll talk about it again. So.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to bring things back up. It's not a big deal. But let's play Animations Gone Wild.
Get started. That was a long intro.
It was. We had a little beer moment and had a little tangent about that.
We got to do what we got to do.
Yeah, it's all good. We're just talking like usual.
You have more, so you do 4, I'll do 3.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay. Will Smith befriends some sharks and seduces his current wife.
Oh, Shark Tale.
Good one.
Yes.
Ding,
nice.
ding, ding.
Nice. Mine have words in them that just don't make sense. So good luck with these.
Thank you.
And I don't even know if you've seen this, so
okay,
that's a good way to start. A teenage girl sails across the ocean with an oversized beef man as they fight monsters and fulfill their destiny.
I love your description, but it's definitely Moana.
Yes. I don't even think I've seen that whole movie. I had to read the
That's
description
a great movie.
of it. A beef man.
A beef.
I couldn't think of what to say, like a man of beef or a meat man. Or
a meat mountain.
Yeah.
Mountain of beef.
I couldn't think of what to say.
All right, here we go. A large retarded man rings a bell.
That's it? That's the whole description?
That's it. You should get it.
A large retarded man rings a bell. The Notre Dame guy? Oh, yes. Man, that's good.
Yeah, I thought you would like that one. That was the one I was cracking up at when I wrote it earlier.
That was good. I've never seen that movie, but that was fantastic.
You're welcome.
All right, so this will be interesting.
Okay.
A young, inexperienced man gets approached by his grandfather and a group of adventurers with plans to seek out a hidden land filled with indigenous people flying around on glowing stones. That was a long sentence, but it wasn't, in fact, a sentence, I'm pretty sure.
It's a run-on sentence. I don't know, but it sounds like Atlantis.
Yes, it is.
Nice.
It is. Don't they find people and they ride around on things?
Glowing stones.
Yeah, they put the thing in it and it glows blue, and then
right.
It's been a long time.
It has been a long time. All right, my turn. Someone loses their kid in the jungle and he learns to yell loudly.
Tarzan. That's a good one. That's pretty much it. That's all he gets out of the whole experience.
Yeah, that's what I learned from that movie.
Let's hear your 5th one. I'm interested.
No, that was only my 3rd one. I have 2 more.
Oh, perfect.
Did you didn't read 3 yet?
Yeah, I did.
I've only read 3. How the fuck did you?
I skipped right over one. I am a dumbass. Jesus. All right. You really might not get this one. A group of slippery dogs alongside other produce and market items decide to slip away before being purchased and eaten by humans.
I know this. Fuck. What is it? It's like I know this.
You know, I can't even remember the name of the movie.
It's like hot dog party.
Yeah,
or,
yeah. Sausage party.
Yeah, wiener party. Nice.
Slippery dogs.
All right, here we go. A very strong boy pisses off James Woods and falls for the hooker that was hired to woo him.
I don't know because can't picture James Wood.
Hercules.
Nice. Okay.
James Woods was Hades.
Gotcha. Nice.
And my fifth one was a rodent befriends a virgin line cook and he learns to make one dish in an entire year.
Is that Ratatouille?
Yeah.
Nice. I haven't seen that one either.
That's a good movie.
I need to watch more animated movies. Apparently.
You do.
But
you do. Animated movies tend to be the best ones. They teach us great life lessons. And what's even more hilarious is that they slide adult humor in there without the kids even noticing a lot of the times.
That is true.
Which is especially in the older ones, maybe not as much in the new ones.
I think they do as much in the new ones because they have that part of the population has to be there. They're forced by the kids, so you might as well appeal to them in some way. And things go right over kids' heads. So they really don't notice a lot of that stuff.
Mm-hmm. They don't notice it, but it will come back to haunt them. Maybe they noticed it and took that in and didn't really realize they were taking it in subconsciously. Who knows?
Sure.
Which might come right back into our episode 17 topic, the film industry.
Subliminal messages.
That's right. Which is a serious thing. That's something that people don't really think about they can be exploited on. And a great example is that Justin Willman guy.
Who's that?
The Magic for Humans dude.
Oh yeah. He
like feeds them code words and makes them guess things.
Yeah, that was very interesting.
That's some certain psychology that may go along with this.
I think when people think subliminal though, they think of just like little things flashing on the screen where you're not consciously aware of it, but for some reason your brain's taking it in and is making you think a certain way.
Right.
I feel like that's what people think of, or at least that's what I normally go to. But subliminal can mean
when you say subliminal, you're saying that you didn't really notice it. So if something flashes on the screen, you're going to notice it.
Right.
Subliminal something is something you're going to intake without even realizing you're intaking.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I see it.
Yeah, I thought, but that was a good comparison or example with whatever his name is, or Justin, whatever. Because I don't want to say exactly what the episode was. I mean, you can go watch it. It's on Netflix, but basically just talks to these people throughout the day, and then by the end of the day, he knows exactly what options they're going to pick and exactly what picture they'll take with every item and the words they even use. That's mind-blowing.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
He's a wizard.
Real. I like to be skeptical, so it might be fake and they might be actors. It's possible.
That is true.
But if it is real, it's a very interesting phenomenon. Ooh,
I got a quick question for you.
Okay.
So, just speaking of Hollywood in the general sense, if you could be like a hot box movie star, actor, actress, whatever you want to be, I'm not judging, today, would you do it?
No.
No?
No.
Even for all the fame and clout and money?
I wouldn't want the fame or the clout. The only thing I would want is the money. Yeah. I look at all these people getting recognized everywhere they go, and I just wouldn't want that. I like anonymity. I like being able to be alone in a crowd. I like being able to observe from afar. But if I walk into a place and everybody notices me, then I can't really do that.
Not only notices you, but crowds around you to talk to you and touch you and tell you all their life stories and how much you have affected them and all that.
Wow. Yeah, I totally meant to affect you, dude.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what I was doing this
Actually, they paid me $4 million to play this part, so I did it anyways.
Yep. And I thought being famous would be cool, but now everybody's bothering me all the time. So
there's like that level of fame you need to be like you make like a one-hit wonder or something. You make a really big song, you make a couple million, then you just disappear.
Yeah, right.
No one hardly notices you.
Yeah, like that guy who made Somebody That We Used to Know.
Yeah.
Now he's just somebody that we used to know. Somebody.
That was a good one.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that.
Like, imagine how Mike Tyson feels.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that.
You know, that dude is like as famous as any actor or more so.
Yeah, like he's been famous for a long time, so I feel like he's probably of course by now he's definitely used to everyone just talking to him. Mm-hmm. But like to go from like our lives now and to know the anonymity we have to just going out into that sort of life?
No thanks.
Hell no.
I'm good.
Hell no.
I'm good. We're not doing this for fame. we're doing this for. I was gonna say we're doing this for you guys. We're doing it for us and for you guys. Hopefully, we just want to spark thought. That's really it. Yep. That's the only goal here.
Yeah, we're gonna sit and talk about it anyways.
That's right.
Might as well just put the mics here.
Right, but basically the topic that we're discussing today is about the film industry and about how it can potentially seed some thoughts. Well, this is how I'm looking at it. Okay. Maybe Brennan's looking at it in a different light, but how I'm seeing it is that the film industry can potentially seed some thoughts in us when we're very young and continuing to do so when we're very old or when we're middle-aged, whatever. It can just put all these ideas in our heads. We see them and we say, oh, they're just movies, whatever. They don't actually mean anything, but really it's reinforcing everything that we've been taught in another way.
I think it's funny how I think that's obviously true. And I don't know if they necessarily, I'm sure at this point they try to pander by age, of course, but overall, I think they were just like, okay, here's this big media outlet that reaches a lot of people. Like, how can we start manipulating the message here to like get people to sway to whatever we want? Everything's pretty political, so I'm sure in some way, well, I know in some way it was bought out because actually, like back in like the 30s, the president was writing deals with like big actors and movie companies to basically do propaganda for them and stuff like that. So they've been swayed for a long time. I don't think it, of course, matters what age you are, but it's weird what they can get away with.
It's a very interesting thought because in this documentary that we watched, I know Brennan's seen it a while back. I watched it and took notes on it as a part of what I was going to talk about today. This is a documentary called Out of the Shadows. They talk about how the CIA, and you can look this stuff up. It's available for public viewing.
Yeah.
The Freedom of Information Act. That's what I was trying to get at. But essentially, they are using or have in the past and probably still are using motion pictures as a form of psychological warfare. And that's like the main sort of drive of that documentary is that they realized when motion pictures started to become a big thing that they were very influential in helping people think in a certain way.
Well, you know what's weird, too, is that a lot of times when you meet people, they have somewhat of this like fairy tale envision of life itself.
Yeah.
Like, and I know a lot of that's probably passed down just from traditions and things like that. But especially when it comes to relationships, that you expect to just meet like a man or a woman, and the fireworks, and it's perfect from the very start, and then it's like happy ever after.
That seems like some shit.
We have such an image of that into our head, so people they don't understand when things like don't work out that way. It just seems what's normal because it's always been in your brain since you were young.
I was gonna say that I really think that's something that could probably be blamed on the film industry, not maybe in its entirety, but on the people that are perpetuating it as well. Maybe their families see this perfect life and they're like, oh, I want this for you, and whatever, exactly. And they just kind of put that in your head from the beginning. And so do things like Cinderella and all of that kind of shit.
Right. I mean, but that's just, everything for a child especially is just this fairy tale type of idea, and everything, is perfect and works out in the end. And so that's just how like we expect to. And I don't know if that was meant to be like some sort of manipulation for children, but I can definitely tell you that it affects people, especially amongst our age, because we're in that like sort of transition point from like, depending on your families and just kind of living in that fairy tale life where you don't really have to do much or think very hard. And now we're kind of like in real life where, we have real bills, and like once some shit happens, like you have to deal with it and no one's going to help you out. And that's when you start realizing it more and more that like that shit's not actually true. And it's weird when you meet people our age that still live in that world and just think that that's how it's always going to be. Things are always going to work out.
I think a lot of people are like that.
Like, no, sometimes things just suck and you have to get through them.
Things do suck.
It's unfortunate.
Life is not easy.
Right.
I mean, that part of being an adult is figuring out that life is tough.
Right.
Especially when you're given all this bullshit to sift through. Like, I need to get insurance. And like, God,
just problem
damn,
after problem.
Nobody as a child thinks about that. Nobody as a child thinks, I'm going to get Blue Cross Blue Shield when I'm 21.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody fucking thinks about that.
What sort of insurance plan, 401k plan should I be looking at?
Yes. Very good.
And there's so many things, especially that you don't learn. But, I don't know if that's like a way of them trying to enable people, especially at a young age, to live in this sort of like blissful ignorance, to just know that everything will be okay. or if it's actually just like an unintended setup for people to be depressed later in life when they get to this age and go, fuck, it's not really like that.
Maybe it's a little bit of both. I don't know. That's probably an unintended consequence, but I think a lot of it is just a distraction. It's like everything's going to be okay. We've got everything taken care of. You do you pursue this happiness kind of thing.
Sure.
Instead
what else can you do?
Because when things start going wrong in society, where's the first place that people look? They look to the man.
Yeah, the media.
They look for someone to blame. They look to the president. They look to the government. They look to the big corporations, wherever. They look to the big powers that be. They want to go blame them for something.
Right.
But if everything's going great, they're gonna fucking not look anywhere else.
Yeah,
just
it's very true.
Look straight ahead and go after their goals, pursue their business ideas, whatever.
Or I had this idea that the media is trying to, or I hate saying the media because there's such like an image around that right now, but people are trying to put out so much information and so much misinformation that eventually we all just get tired and stop paying attention anyways.
Well, you say we all. I think you and I are in that group, but I don't think a lot of people are.
I think eventually, man, just especially
right.
this year, it just seems like one thing after another, one story to the next story, and we're all just like riding this wave of up and down of emotions, and it's like I got tired. I get tired of that pretty quickly, and I know a lot of people can ride that wave for a long time, but eventually it's got to get old, you know, for most people. And then, is this whole generation of people not going to look back and just be like, holy fuck, like there was a huge problem with that, and we weren't actually paying attention to the right things.
Mm-hmm. I'm part of me wants to hope that they'll look back and see the problems.
Well, maybe, yeah.
But part of the problem is that they'll have to look back instead of
That's
realizing it in the
what I was
moment.
about to say, exactly.
They need to be paying attention in the moment and realizing that 99% of the media is misleading you.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think with this year, it's been so much like it's just been exhausting by this point. Maybe people are starting to just get tired of all the stories. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't seem that way with the amount of people that are like rioting, or there's not much rioting right now, but protest, and there's so much activism right now. But I hope people are getting tired of it, because July's coming and there's some shit right around the corner that's about to go down.
But I don't think they're blaming it on the media. A lot of people put it off to just 2020 is just a bad year, or that kind of stuff. I'm not saying it's the media's fault, but I am saying that the media is distracting us from probably a lot of shit that's going on that we have no idea comparatively, comparing to years past.
Right.
There's probably a lot more going on right now that we don't realize than there have been in the years before, because of all of this turmoil that we're being put through.
They can drive the message, wherever they want it to go. So it's just, I know we talked about like the protests and stuff already, but they can make the worst parts of it seem like the only parts of it.
Yep.
And then that's what the people like us sitting at home are going to see.
Yeah.
And then you start getting this bad image of like the whole movement is a terrible thing just because all you're seeing is the terrible stuff on the news. So
it's sad. Don't watch MSNBC. Don't watch CBS. Don't watch Fox. None of that shit.
It's hard to. I know we've talked about that a million times, but it's hard to know where to find the right stuff. Because even a lot of the sources, especially, and I know I'm going a little offline here, but like even a lot of the things I read with the COVID situation, they changed so much to the end of it. Like the CDC just pretty much lied about shit, and there was by now we have completely different information than what we did. Of course, at the start, because they didn't really know. But even through the middle of it, when you think that they had an idea of what they were talking about, I feel like we just got pushed the wrong messages.
Yeah,
and it's like starting to. I don't think it's starting to come out that much now, but it's. I don't know. It's just one thing after another. People have to realize that.
Yeah, they do, and it's
hard to trust the sources.
It is really hard to trust. It's hard for me to. I've been struggling with this lately. It's been a problem for me, is trusting anything that comes out into the public view.
Yeah,
it's been a serious battle for me, because I see things coming from mainstream news sources, and I immediately just don't even look at it. I don't watch it. And it's the same thing with, I'm starting to, even the unbiased news sources like Al Jazeera are supposedly unbiased news sources, like BBC.
Yeah, PBR.
Exactly, PNR.
What did I say?
PBR.
Oh shit. Yeah, PBS.
Isn't it PNR, right?
Yeah, Public National Radio or something like that.
I think I'm right. Whatever. Anyways.
Who cares? You get where we're going.
Yeah, any of those, like I've stopped paying attention because I just feel like I'm being lied to. and I would rather not hear anything than hear misinformation that's going to make me feel some type of way. I'm not about it. That's part of my problem with Black Lives Matter. Mm-hmm. Is that I know that somebody is propelling this thing forward. I'm not saying that things happening to black people aren't wrong.
Right. That's not what it's
about. But somebody's taking advantage of that.
There's a lot of people. I mean, most things like this, especially when they have momentum, especially like alluding back to like the actors and stuff, people with this amount of influence, groups, anything with this amount of influence, there's going to be some sort of political bias or political warfare going on where people are wanting to sway it one way or the other. The Democrats, I hate even talking about it, but they want to make it look one way, and then the right wing people want to make it look another way.
Yeah.
And people with a lot of money are throwing in people to make it look one way or the other. Like anytime there's people of influence that can reach a large audience, they're having a lot of, I guess, strings pulled on them in different directions.
For sure. And that's part of what we're getting into today, is that everything pretty much is becoming a form of warfare. Like everything in the public eye, like even movies in the film industry is being used as psychological warfare. That's something that people rarely think about, is that anything in the public eye is potentially being used to sway somebody one way or the other. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I feel like is rarely thought about. And I want to bring it more to light with this. I hope a lot of people watch this. Yeah. And I want people to understand that the tiny ideas, maybe not the overarching story of the movies, but like potentially little seeds that they can plant in movies could sway your thought, or maybe just reinforce your thought. Right. And I want to read a quote that came directly from a CIA document that's up for, you can look at it online. And it says, it's a quote from I think it was a document from the 30s or 40s. Movies are used to inform, instruct, create attitudes, stimulate or inhibit action, or build morale. And it's a part of a paper that is entailing the ideas of the movie industry being used for psychological warfare to help keep their people at rest, or give them something else to look at.
It's funny that you say that, because I hadn't really thought of it before, but it makes it seem that they're trying to almost create what your moral groundings or moral landscape should be. Like the music that plays, the scene they set to, like, these things are what are supposed to make you happy. These kind of things are what are supposed to make you sad. Yeah. Like, these are the conversations you should have with your friends. And like all of that stuff is like, you learn from that every single day growing up, and you're a pretty significant portion of your personality in general is based off of characters in movies and stuff that you've just watched growing up. Because even if I like said some quote of a movie to you, you would immediately think back to that movie. So you start, you hear one thing and you make an association with another. Yep. And they can easily just throw that in there along the way. And you kind of just become these various characters and these things you've heard your whole life growing up without even realizing it.
And what's hilarious about this is kind of going off brand a little bit here, but I thought about this the other day. What's hilarious about at least my predicament in general that I was talking about earlier, that I don't really trust things. I am starting to trust comedians.
Because they can always just be like, I was just joking.
Exactly. They can just go up there and tell some shit. Like George Carlin, for example. He's a perfect example. He can go up there and just spit some truth, and people laugh at it, and then nobody fucking bats an eye because it's a comedy show.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't have to take anything he's saying seriously. But when really George Carlin is saying, wake the fuck up, dude.
Right.
And I love that about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. It kind of leads me to a question I had for you. So, and we've already been talking about it, but not only like just Hollywood and the movies themselves, but how do you think like those celebrities individually affect like the culture?
What do you mean?
Like, because those famous people have such, I hate saying clout, but they're so famous and they have such an influence on people. Like, do you think that they individually kind of live their lives to, I guess, produce certain messages?
Maybe some of them. That would depend on the actor, I guess. Because some of those actors may very well be hired by the CIA. Like based on what if if 3/4 of what I saw in that documentary is true, even half of what I saw in that documentary is true, if the documents they showed are real, if the things that they're saying, like, for example, here we go. Yeah, the Motion Picture Alliance for the Preservation of American Ideals is a real government body, and it has entertainment tycoons at the helm of it. And one of the quotes from the creation of this government body is, "Motion pictures are an unparalleled instructional medium." And I have a hard time believing that sort of shit has just stopped. I don't think that's the case. And I think it's very possible that not only are some of those actors a part of that sort of realm, but maybe they were just born into it.
Right.
And maybe their father worked for the CIA or something like that.
Do you think like Hollywood has a reach? Do you think they intended it to just be like a national thing, or they're trying to like spread a message to the world?
It probably started as a national thing, I would think. But now Hollywood is so famous, I'm sure the world messages have come across their head.
It's crazy how famous Bollywood is.
Bollywood?
Yeah, that's like the Indian Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
And
India has a huge film industry.
They put out more movies than the U.S. Like each year. But I saw something, it says like the U.S. government was actively promoting free trade agendas and trade with the U.S. to get their films out, to get like American films into other countries and stuff like that.
That's nuts.
So they not only did these big companies that started putting movies all in the U.S., they were putting like industries in London and, you know, like all over England, and just spreading American movies to every part of the world pretty much.
Do you remember from that documentary called Operation Mockingbird? Do you remember that?
Oh, I do. I remember the name, but you'll have to refresh me on what it was about.
So it was a CIA program that they enacted through they enacted through news sources and through the movie industry, and it was basically people being paid to produce fake news stories and fake agendas.
Is it when they had like all those different news anchors saying the same
exact
thing?
Same shit? Yeah, that was disturbing.
So weird, man. So
that
weird.
was disturbing to me, and I hope that they didn't just take different bits from like different time periods and tried to make it look bad. Yeah. That's part of the skeptical mind in me, is I try to look at things from a different eye as much as I can. But if they were all covering the same news story and all saying the exact same narrative, it's a problem. That's not okay.
Yeah, there was one point where the lady was like, "We tell you what to think, not other people.
That's our job."
Yeah. We're like, what the fuck?
Like, wow, man.
I saw on the one of the websites I was looking on, I can't remember what encyclopedia page it was, but it was basically saying that like by World War II, filmmaking was basically used as a weapon. They were just using it to create ideas and propaganda. It was so obvious back then. I think now it's tuned down to just not be so obvious, but it's still definitely leaning you to think certain ways. But especially American culture is so highly based off the ideas of movies.
Yeah, and think about it as the seed had already been planted, right? So, like, movies back in that time were planted in your grandparents and in your parents. And if they took that message, it was a seed that they spread to you without even knowing it. Yeah. So you already had that in your head before you started watching the movies you watched as a child. Right. So I'm sure that's something that they're building off of with their psychological warfare ideas in the movie industry, is that they know that the public is already thinking this certain way, so let's lead them down this other specific branch of thinking.
It's funny when those people try to actually stand off from the media, they're automatically just assumed to be crazy or just lunatics that are just too hyper aware of making conclusions, conspiracy type people.
Yeah, and that's another thing that apparently, I don't know how true this is, but apparently the CIA invented the term conspiracy theories to make it seem like the people that were promoting the fact that the government lies about a lot of stuff, or trying to get across that just the government is trying to be manipulative in some way, makes them seem crazy.
Yeah, it makes them look like the bad guy. And especially when
if they actually did coin that term, that would be really funny. That
would be wild. I mean, I don't know. I can't believe anything nowadays, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean even that documentary is something that I try to see. It's in the public eye, so potentially they might be manipulating us.
Yeah, which I know one of the episodes was taken down and you had to go and find it from somewhere else.
Wow.
But you know, it sucks in saying all this and knowing that Hollywood can potentially be this huge mechanism to drive culture in a certain direction. I still very much enjoy going to the movies and watching big films.
I can't lie.
Like, as much as I know that even if there is something subliminal in some way I'm being, pushed into by watching, like, the Avengers and the Marvel movies.
I'm going to continue watching those. I will.
They're still great movies.
I enjoyed Infinity War and Endgame way too much. They did
very well
alone,
with Thanos, man. They killed it with him.
I went and watched Infinity War twice in 2 days.
Yeah.
When it came out, I went and watched it immediately, and then went the next day by myself to watch it again.
That's awesome.
Because it was fucking amazing, and
Those movies were really
I'd
good.
been waiting on them to bring Thanos to life for so long, and then they finally did.
So, do you think this is a topic that people, it's like one of those things like you can be aware of, but is it worth it? Should people be
talking about this?
Yeah, or just like the scandals behind Hollywood in general. If it is just some huge machine to create,
is it worth it for them?
Is it worth it? Yeah, to know about this information in general, especially if we're just going to continue to go to the movies and enjoy anything that put out. Like, why bother with it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we plant the seed, that's what we're doing. We're trying to plant a little seed in somebody's head. That's how things work. When you argue with somebody or debate somebody, or you're just trying to change the way that they think in general, you're not going to do it that day. You're not going to do it in that moment. You have to realize that it takes time. You have to say certain things, be very calm with them, be very respectful, and you have to say certain things that they're going to think of a month from now.
Yeah, and it kind of reiterates.
And that's why I think it's worth it, is that even if they do continue to go and see those movies, they might see the movies in a different light. They'll appreciate them, but they'll think, what am I missing?
Yeah.
That's all I want. I just want somebody to have a second thought about what they're watching.
Right.
Instead of just continuing to become this thing that the government is creating.
Right.
I don't know.
And not only, I think you can use that same idea and same principle not only towards just watching movies, but anything you do, be skeptical. Don't be... There's that fine line of not being overly skeptical to where you can't, like, enjoy anything. I think that's a problem.
That's where I'm at.
And at the same time, you can't be. It feels like you can't be open-minded enough to just kind of accept things because you just want to be so skeptical of it. And I am very guilty of that myself in a lot of instances. But at the same time, it's nice to just kind of let yourself experience something and then, like, go back and think about it later, rather than a lot of times, especially when people are just talking in like a sort of debate or kind of a heated discussion. You were mentioning this earlier, but somebody will talk for however long and people just find the one part of it and tend to harp on that one part and get distracted by that one part, so they don't hear the rest of what you say. They just, like, get focused on that. And that's what being overly skeptical, I think, can do to you sometimes. You just want to focus on that one thing and then, like, push everything off and now let me debate with you here. Instead of just kind of, like, being open-minded, hearing it for what it is. You can know your faults and then wait till the conclusion of it, then gather it all together and make your opinions about it.
Right. That's a good way to look at things. And that's part of where I see a lot of liberal Americans running to, is the problem of... They pride themselves in being open-minded, but then as soon as somebody says something they don't like, they shut off.
That's the weirdest thing about progressives nowadays. It seems that, like, if you're very progressive, that seems to be a good thing just by the definition of the word. Yet, if somebody on, like, the right side of the political spectrum says something, they automatically just hate that person and what they say.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, like, how beneficial it could be down the line. It's just about disagreeing with them. And that's the very opposite of being open-minded and being progressive.
Like. Yeah. I agree with you, and that's part of my problem with what
quarrels.
With what have become these... with what have become social justice warriors and stuff like that, is you're doing an admirable thing. You're sticking up for somebody who can't necessarily stick up for themselves as good as possible, and you're helping them. That's great. But my problem comes with when you hear somebody say one sentence and then you shut off. That's my problem. is that you can't really hear what somebody's trying to say.
You don't hear the message.
Judge every little thing that they're trying to put across to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because everything that I say probably isn't going to make sense.
Yeah, if you just broke it down line by line, I say a lot of dumbass shit.
Yeah.
You know, even after I speak for 5 minutes, sometimes there's no point to the message. But, but ultimately, like, you know, at the conclusion of the conversation, you should have gotten something across by that time.
Right. So what you should do if you're talking to somebody that you potentially disagree with, if you're actually an open-minded person, what you would do is maybe have like a pen and paper there.
Exactly.
Or just make a mental note of, I don't agree with that. Continue. And just keep listening.
If you have a good enough memory, that's what I don't, because I'll get distracted by the last thing you say and then just talk about that. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's very useful for, like, if you really plan to have a constructive conversation, you know, obviously you might not just always have a pen and pad. And if you did carry around a pen and pad and wrote notes every time you talk to somebody, that would probably be good for you, but it'd be probably weird for that person.
It would be very weird. But that's something, conversations in general is something that people don't consider enough when they're thinking about the person that they're becoming, is that conversations really do a lot for you when you're having important conversations on a person-to-person basis. You can learn a lot. You can be checked on your ideas, and it's not just like a one-way flow of things.
And what's interesting is when you're telling people something, you teach yourself a lot of it too, because in your brain you just know it. Like you don't have to verbalize it or put words to it. You just kind of get the idea of it.
That's right.
And then, but a lot of times you'll see people struggling trying to purvey that idea to someone else.
That's a word.
I think I was like, that doesn't sound right, but convey, I guess, would work as well.
Convey and purvey.
You know, trying to get that idea to someone else, and then they just don't have the right words for it, and it's like, even though they know it in their mind, they just can't get it across. I don't remember where I was going with that, but
I don't know either. Yeah, I have no idea. You're just rambling like usual.
Like usual.
Oh yeah, but we're getting a little off subject, so let's jump back into the entertainment and film industry. So I wrote something down about Operation Paperclip, and I wanted to discuss that for a second.
Okay, hit me with it.
So Operation Paperclip, if some of you probably know, if the majority of you don't, it's something that's been made fun of in movies before. And that's a theme that I want to get behind, is that when somebody says something that brings to light a problem that there is within like a government body or whatever it may be, a corporate body, and it's accurate, but maybe it doesn't paint the whole picture, but it gets like maybe a lot of clout, like you were saying. Sorry, you gave me that word.
People understand.
But if somebody brings the public eye to something that's true, then that government body, to cut their losses, will admit the truth. And only that truth. They'll say, yeah, we did this, we're sorry, and cut it off right there. Or say they won't.
Yeah, but it led nowhere, nothing else to be discovered.
Exactly.
Here. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's part of what I think Operation Paperclip, what they were trying to do with Operation Paperclip, because in a lot of movies they have Operation Paperclip as a thing. Like even in Captain America, that was a.
So what is that about?
It's German scientists being hired by the United States after Germany fell.
Yeah.
And so
Nazi Germany.
That started with a lot of the thing with the Operation Paperclip was mind control. And that's where the CIA started studying with LSD and trying to change how people think. They would hypnotize them and then play something for thousands and thousands of times.
I'm sure they like basically tortured people in disgusting ways.
They did.
To try to mind control them.
Yeah. So that's part of. That's like an extrapolation of what I think they're doing to the American public.
They figured out some subtle long con to play.
Exactly. They're not playing these things. They're not like kidnapping us, putting us in a room and playing things on a loop.
Right.
But they are playing things on a loop and controlling what's in that loop and making them so good that the American public wants to put them on a loop themselves.
Yeah. I think what's weird is a lot of people don't realize is all the TV shows, the 300 channels that you have or whatever, a lot of these, they're basically owned by what, like 4 companies?
Yeah. It's like, well, it was... Yeah, maybe 5 now.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly
but,
how many.
I mean,
but
it was like the big 6, and then things have been bought and conglomerated since then.
So the majority of the media that you ingest every single day is all owned by 6. I don't want to say 6 people, but 6 companies.
Right, and another
thing, very small number of people, at least in the U.S.
Yeah, and another thing people don't realize is that when the OSS was the original CIA, it turned into the CIA, and when the film industry was becoming a big thing and people were retiring from the OSS or the CIA, they put them into power positions in the film industry, some of them.
I can see that.
So...
It just seems completely obvious now when you start putting all the little pieces together.
Is that just a coincidence?
Yeah,
maybe.
Like, why wouldn't they do? And not only that though. Just imagine, like, if you have control of the government and essentially not control of the government. That's a bad way to put it, but if you have the sway of the government, and even if the film industry wasn't, initially born into that thought, and you would imagine at some point they would have infiltrated to kind of sway a message, or either to just completely put, join the army kind of messages out there.
And they did do that.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if you've heard of the film Patton before. Have you heard of that?
Like General Patton?
Yeah. It's got a really famous scene in it of him in front of a giant American flag, and he's giving a speech. They make fun of it in Family Guy. I know you know what I'm talking about with the Family Guy shit. But the General Patton speech, I wish we could bring it up on the computer right now without any problems and show people. But it's him giving a speech about how America is the best or whatever in front of a giant American flag. Yeah. And it's a really famous scene. That's the kind of and it's an old movie. That's the kind of shit that they were doing for propaganda to get people on America's side.
Yeah,
and keep
it was very obvious back then. It was like, you have to fight for your country. Like, look at what... And even back then, they made it look like they needed us in other countries. Like, look at what's going on over here. These terrible things are happening, and we have to help, and this is what we have to do. And it's like they just made the worst of it so people would want to join the military.
Yeah.
And now it's swayed to... Do you think... Obviously, it's not as much about the military and, like, government propaganda. Do you think it's still the government in kind of control of the message, or something advanced above the government?
Well, that's a whole nother conversation. And that's something that you and I have talked about a little bit before. Yeah. And that's something
that's where Out of the Shadows alludes to, right?
I think
at the very end, it talks about the occult. It's like, there's the higher percent up there that basically controls.
Yeah, and that's something that I've definitely thought about before, and that's also it would just make a lot of sense because a lot of people, when they have problems, like I said before, they point at the government, and when people have conspiracy theories, they point at the government. Even the people that pride themselves in being open-minded and intelligent, and they see through the government's lies or whatever, they're pointing at the government. I don't necessarily think that it is the government.
Yeah, I think they have their shit, obviously.
Yeah, they have a pivotal role because they have a huge sway over the American population.
They're the governing body, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
However, I definitely think there is a whole world beyond the government that does things. That's how I feel.
It actually pulls the strings.
Yeah, that's how I think about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to disagree, and that's like one of those things like. Will we ever actually discover the truth on that?
I'm sure not.
Yeah, I'm sure not.
If you do, you'll disappear.
And would you just be better off just being ignorantly bliss?
That depends on the person.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't. I would like to know.
Yeah. We've had this discussion 100 times, but I can't imagine the majority of people are gonna, like, they wouldn't want to know what's behind Hollywood, what's behind the bigger messages of why we're, being involved and being swayed by different forms of media. I mean, it's just kind of like, just go with it and enjoy it until you're done.
Yeah.
I can see both the ways. I mean, I personally, I don't watch the news, I watch movies and stuff, but I watch a lot of comedians that kind of just I don't want to say they tell the truth about everything. A lot of what they make up is just bullshit, but it's funny just to see people that are bluntly honest. That's why I like TV shows like It's Always Sunny. It's just people just being crude and bluntly honest and about whatever they want to say. They just say it. And I think that's what I admire about most things in general. It's like, I don't want you to like try to create some image for me or like make me feel some type of way. Just like, let's just get to the point here.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is where I wanted to ask you about if you...
Jesus?
Well, definitely not.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead.
I was going to ask you if you've ever heard the Allegory of the Cave before.
Absolutely.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the shadows on the cave.
Yeah. So I'm going to explain that to the viewers if you don't know what the allegory of the cave is. It's basically, think about, I say basically too much.
I had a Facebook post about this.
Did you?
Actually, in 2000.
About the cave?
13 or 14. Yeah.
Interesting. It's something that I learned about in college. I took a lot of philosophy courses in college. But the cave is the place where most of America's public would be. Mm. So you are sitting on the base of a wall in a cave. The entrance to the cave is above the wall and behind you, and all you see is the projection of the light and the shadows wherein. That's all you've seen your entire life. You're like chained in this cave, whatever. So the people that are out there at the top control everything that you see. You don't even see color, right? You just see the light and you see the silhouettes doing different things.
Right, and you just kind of make your own interpretation of what's going on.
Exactly. So you create this own world in your head, and you don't realize that there's an entire another world full of color and life and trees and all of this kind of stuff out there. And because all you've seen is the cave, that's all you know.
Right.
So everything that you see in the cave is... I mean, it's of the utmost importance to you and whatever else, but then it might become completely null if you could see what was outside of the cave.
Yeah, exactly. And the things creating the shadows themselves are completely different than what they would seem to be by just the shadows themselves.
Exactly.
But, you know, and I think what's funny, though, is a lot of people almost... I'd have to say almost like 99% of people are going to be like, well, you know, I'm woke, right? I've came out of the cave, right?
So many people like that's a fad now.
Yeah, it is a fad.
People thinking that they're woke, and it's and I know that's something else that the powers that be have definitely thought about, and they're just feeding into those people that think they're woke.
So yes, like how do you actually know? Because it's like once everyone is, no one is.
Yeah.
Right.
Really.
So how can we decipher these days through all the bullshit?
I'm woke, dude, bro. No, you're not. You're not even close.
But then the majority, like I read that allegory in college too. But you know, like even the majority of the people in that class are like, oh well, you know, this is like helping me to like see outside the cave, and this is how you do it, and like you're kind of just taught that, especially if you're in higher education, that now you have the information that was once, you know, in the shadows, so to speak, to you. Now you have all that information and know what's going on. Mm-hmm. That's probably why you have all these fucking like liberals on college campuses acting like idiots.
Yeah.
And just thinking they know everything in the world. And you realize even if you're 21 in college, I feel like I was an idiot at 21 compared to just being 27. So I can't imagine in another 10 years.
Yeah, I feel like I'm an idiot now. I think almost everybody's an idiot.
Yeah, it's
like
hard.
So
it's
few
hard
people,
not to be.
And the older you get, the more stubborn you get. The more you think you know.
Right. Well, you can't really be outside of your environment too. So all these things that are pushed on you via Hollywood and media, and all the things that, especially through our phones and social media, all these things that, you know, we look at all the time, that literally is a part of who you are and what you are. Yeah. So it's like, how do you become outside of that environment or that atmosphere to see it all in a different perspective? It's a hard thing to do.
You have to separate yourself from it.
Yeah. How would you recommend
putting your phone down as much as you can?
Yeah.
Realizing that you scrolling through Instagram monotonously all day long is a fucking problem. You're putting yourself on this loop. You're reinforcing your beliefs that you already have, and you're putting yourself in this box. And that's what social media is kind of doing to us, is that anybody who disagrees with you, unfriend them. Anybody who seems like a bigot, you unfriend them. And if somebody, I don't know, if somebody says something you don't like, you turn yourself off from them, and you can block them.
You immediately have like an image of them. Even if you don't get rid of them, you're like, oh, I know they support Trump. I don't like them anymore.
Right. So what is you is basically what is you is all of the interactions that you've ever had. The public view of you is the interaction that you've had with somebody else.
Just all the information that you take in. That is what you're made of, is just that information you continuously take in. If it's very skewed towards one way, your whole idea and thoughts about life, and you know, whether it be political or religious, whatever it is all going to be skewed towards that one way.
Yep.
And it's just constantly reinforcing you.
That's part of why I deleted Facebook. It's just like it's a serious problem. We're separating ourselves when we should be uniting against whatever this fucking huge evil is that's distracting us from something that's going on. We should be uniting against that. Instead, we're taking the bait of the media, and then where anybody who disagrees with our sentiments, we're cutting ourselves off, only surrounding ourselves with people that reinforce us, and then just continuing building ourselves up. Yeah. And eventually we're going to get to a point that where we can't have conversations with people that are different.
Yeah. And now you can find this like infinite flow of information and people to back you up in your thoughts.
Yeah.
You know, like everything you comment on, even the comments you see are going to be skewed towards like what you think and the things you've liked and haven't liked. And so like whether before, if you had some crazy idea or, you know, you may have not been able to express it, or I can't think of the best way to put it, but now you're in the spot where, like, if I like a bunch of this stuff, like you said, you just go follow a bunch of people like that, and there's always someone to agree with and just confirm your bias. Yeah. I guess the best way to put it. But
and a huge problem that I have is when somebody cuts off and they disavow somebody who is a truth seeker. And let me give you an example. So this is very relevant right now. The Black Lives Matter movement is the thing right now. So the best example that I can give is that somebody who's trying to, let's say, most of the people that say this are young, either that or they're old and they're already stupid and lost or whatever. But
they're at the point of no turning back.
Exactly. So somebody says like, "Oh, the police kill white people too," you know, and that's like.
It's like you can't say that right now.
You can't say that, and that's if you said that online, you would immediately get destroyed by all of these people, and that's a problem. I don't necessarily think that person's exactly right. Yeah, of course, white people get killed by the police.
Yeah,
but you should not shun that person for saying that. Educating them as best as possible as to why the police killing black people in the fashion that they do is a problem, is because, you know, it's ingrained in our society right now, and it's ingrained in the people, and the only way that it's going to go away, I've said this to you, is with time.
Right.
Because slavery wasn't that long ago. Segregation was not that long ago. It is still echoing through our population. The only way it's going to go away is through time and advocacy. So applause to you if you're an advocate, but don't shun people who are truth-seeking.
Yeah.
If you do that, I won't like you.
Yeah, at the same time, you kind of have to know the time and place. So if you're a speaker, you need to know your audience, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, there's ways to find common ground and then branch off a little bit. But if you're in the middle of, like, some Black Lives Matter protests and you're just like, white people get killed too.
Yeah.
Like, it's all about the delivery. You know, you're asking to, you know, people are going to fucking shun that person and go, just get the fuck out of here, you know?
Change happens in conversations like we have.
Yeah, right. So but at the same time, you can't even have conversations like this in certain forums almost, because especially in the middle of like a, you know, in some sort of protest, and people are heated and, you know, enthusiastic, you can't really take that person and go, well, let's have this conversation, right?
Yeah.
They're already geared one way.
You're right.
You know, so it really is. You have to wait for it to kind of cool off, unfortunately. Then you have to somewhat separate them from the group, which is hard to do because you have this group mentality. I think that ruins everything. You know, separate that one person and kind of make a difference, and then try to be like, okay, well, this happens too. You know, and like that's when it's like you really connect with somebody rather than trying to go after this whole group.
Yeah.
Then you just look like some like anti, you know, black or civil rights type person, and that's just not going to be good for you.
And that's exactly why I really like people like Sam Harris, especially, is because he just remains so calm no matter the position that he's in, no matter what he's saying. He has a rational backing behind it, and he's totally calm about it. Somebody can be mad at what he's saying, screaming in his face, and he'll just take it, like, without any kind of facial expression, and just say, "Are you done now? Can we talk, please?"
He knows Ben Shapiro is actually pretty good about that.
I like Ben Shapiro for that.
He was on, and totally diverging here, but he was on some show where some transsexual person was next to him, and he was like, "Well, if I'm addressing you, like, you know, you were a man. You biologically are a man. Like, if you want to be a woman, like, I'll call you a woman. That's fine." Anyways, that person was basically like, "You're going to leave here in an ambulance." And like, that transsexual person was, like, insulting him. And he was still just like, it's not, like, I'm not trying to, you know, discredit you or anything, but these are my thoughts. It's funny just to tell the type of person. That person that, like, just fucking wants to be so angry about something and make something the biggest deal are the people that get heard the most, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it seems like their point is more valid because they're the loudest about it rather than someone just
because
taking
they're
that.
offended about it.
Yeah.
So everybody has to listen and empathize.
Yeah.
And if they don't empathize, then you're a bad person.
Yeah, just don't have time for all that. There's too many people I have to empathize. Now you have to be careful of everything you say because someone's going to be offended about it.
Yeah.
And eventually you have to get to that point.
With that.
Yeah, well, yeah, eventually you have to get to the point where you're just like, it's all about the intention. If I just say words that offend you, then just get the fuck over it. I just don't care.
Yeah,
you know,
it's like a get over yourself kind of
right,
thing.
Exactly. Like, yeah, it's not all about you. But if I'm like maliciously trying to, you know, be racist or sexist or whatever it may be, then yeah, someone should probably step in.
Mm-hmm. So we're very off subject. I wanted to jump back on.
Yeah, very off.
But getting off subject is part of what we do. We ramble. We're going to talk. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
But since we're coming towards the end, there are a couple of little niggles I wanted to address. You terrible people. What did you think I said? Especially you.
That one caught me off guard for a second.
All right. So one of the things that they mentioned as the use of media goes as a bad thing is that the Gulf of Tonkin potentially was a false flag. Do you know what the Gulf of Tonkin is?
No, I know Tonka trucks. Is that what you're saying? I know you said it different, but it just...
The Gulf of Tonkin was the start of Vietnam.
Okay, sure.
They said that a Vietnamese ship fired on an American ship or something like that.
Yeah.
Apparently that didn't even happen.
Yeah, I don't know if it's been proven.
Right. So that's part of the thinking is that the CIA put that fake news out there and started the Vietnam War.
Gotcha.
For whatever reasons. I don't really know exactly why they would want to invade Vietnam.
Yeah, I think there was a whole culture of people that were just like, why the fuck are we there? Well, the majority of people hated that we were in Vietnam. Yeah. The soldiers that came back from Vietnam got booed.
Oh, yeah, I know.
As they got off
My
the plane.
father was in Vietnam. He talked about it.
My grandfather was too. And I think that's just bizarre. But sorry, go on your point.
No, I just wanted to bring that up as a potential thing that, you know, you guys should look that kind of shit up and see if there's any truth to it. Let us know, please.
Yeah.
And I'll take this moment to say like and subscribe if you have made it this far.
My next point would just be like, just because it's produced by America doesn't make it like the best thing ever.
Blind nationalism
is such a misconception.
It is one of the biggest problems that we face in our country is blind nationalism. If somebody says we're going to make America great again, everybody's like, oh my God, I want to make America great. It's always been great. What's happening now? Let's make it better. I don't know. Whatever. Man. All right. So, apparently the CIA used a lot of honeypots to get things done.
What is that?
You didn't?
I just think of like Winnie the Pooh. I go immediately to a real honeypot.
Have you've seen The Interview?
Yes.
So they talk about a honeypot in that movie. So it's the use of a hot girl to get somebody on board a certain subject. Okay, so they sway them one way or the other. Sure. So apparently the CIA is guilty of using honeypots in a lot of different areas, which would make a lot of sense. It works. It fucking works.
This is what happens in every James Bond movie, right?
Yeah, right.
Essentially, the bad person is a woman that tries to seduce him.
Yeah, they're desensitizing us, man. All right, and the last thing I wanted to bring up, which will undoubtedly be something that we talk a good amount about, is Pizzagate. You remember what Pizzagate is?
I do remember Pizzagate. It doesn't really relate to Hollywood that much, I guess.
Yes, it does.
I guess it relates to a lot of people involved in Hollywood. Sure, I would say that.
Yeah.
But the main person I think about is Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, I guess. But it was in the Out of the Shadows thing, and I took notes on it, so I thought it would be important to bring up.
No, I think people should know what this is. It's
they should. So let's talk a little bit about Pizzagate. And we can make this a little bite on our thing. But basically what Pizzagate is it started with a guy going into a pizza parlor. I don't remember exactly where this place was, but he went in there with an AR-15 and shot somebody. I think he shot someone, or he fired off a round and then got arrested or something like that. But basically the reason that he went into this place was because the guy who owned this pizza parlor was allegedly a part of a pedophilia ring.
Yeah, like human trafficking.
Yeah. So that brought to light all sorts of shit.
He had weird fucking photos up in his
and
pizza
up on
parley.
His Instagram. Pizza parley.
what else? Parley. Sorry, I was listening to what you were saying in It's pizza parlor.
No, continue.
But yes, Instagram was very suggestive.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. What are they suggesting? But
the kids are hot.
Yeah, that was a weird fucking guy, and they made the weird point that within like 2 or 3 years, he had like the hottest pizza joint in this wherever he was located.
Yep.
But anyways, go ahead.
But a lot of what I wanted to bring up is some of the Podesta emails. I don't remember Podesta's first name, but it's a guy.
John.
Is it?
I think it's John Podesta.
Word. That sounds like a white
it
guy.
Does, yeah. It very well may not be, but I think that's right.
Okay.
Joe
whatever.
Or something. Sorry.
Something like
Anyways,
that.
Go ahead.
But his emails got brought to light, and it had lots of very questionable lingo.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And I wrote down some of them. For example, let's go get pizza for an hour.
Yeah, that was one of the weirdest ones.
Who says that? There's weirder. He said that we're gonna go to a spirit cooking dinner.
Yeah, so essentially, if you're not catching on by this point, these words are symbolic.
Yes.
The whole Pizzagate scandal is, like you said, a way to cover up some sex trafficking ring, and they use keywords to actually mean something else.
Yeah.
So when we go get pizza for an hour, may not actually stand for pizza.
Yeah, so we're bringing this up in the film industry episode because a lot of film industry people are involved in this.
Yeah.
Harvey Weinstein is a big one.
Those high net worth people.
Excuse me. Yep. And what's his face? What's the other guy? The other one that was recently exposed for
Epstein?
pedophilia. No. It is Epstein. I'm sorry. They were both Steens, and that confused
Weinstein.
me. So the Jews
Epstein.
are bringing us down. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
Yeah.
But seriously though, the Jews are bringing us down.
But for real though. On a serious
Holy
note.
fuck. Okay. I'm gonna read some of the more questionable quotes that came from these emails. This guy said, "This is a word for word quote, which kind of blew my fucking mind. I'm going to go into the backyard and I will be sacrificing a chicken to Moloch." Moloch is the Canaanite god associated with child sacrifice. Now, I don't care if you're like sacrificing anything is very questionable behavior.
So who said this, or do you know, like
Podesta himself? I'm pretty
okay, because I was like, if I texted you this one day, you would just be like, "You're a fucking weirdo," and you wouldn't think of anything because But being that this is like Podesta is a guy that's very, very involved in the government. He was on the board of. He was on the administration of Obama, I believe. He works with Hillary Clinton a lot. Like, he is very involved. So this is not just like me to you, type thing.
Yeah. I don't remember who this was going to, but at a dinner party, he was going to sacrifice a chicken. That alone right there. Even if it was just a fucking chicken.
Yeah, right. Why would you say that? So I'm going to sidestep, but it's weird how popular sacrificing has been for thousands of years.
Isn't it? Now all of a sudden it's not popular.
Like,
I wonder if there's actually something to that.
There were certain like cultures that would sacrifice multiple things a day.
Yeah.
Like cutting their heads off
Lions
and drinking their blood and
cutting their hearts out, sacrificing them to the sun god.
Yeah, like hundreds of things a year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is bizarre to me.
It is bizarre.
And you want to think, why is where did they first? Because things have to be kind of reinforced by some positive reaction, right? Mm-hmm. So I do this, and then this happens. So I'm going to keep doing this in hopes that this keeps happening. And what is this thing that's happening over here?
In the Bible, God wanted Isaac to sacrifice his son.
Yep.
Wait, no, it was Abraham. Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it was Abraham.
I don't care.
But he wanted him to sacrifice his son to God. God wanted somebody. The God that we worship wanted one of his followers to sacrifice his son to him.
Yes,
and then right at the last second was like, "Nope, I was just testing your faith."
You did good enough. Well done, sir. You'll get the blessing I so desire to relieve upon you.
Really?
Yes.
Like, what? I read that as a child and didn't bat an eye. But now I'm... I'm looking back at it going, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I don't get it. Now it may be one of those things that we're just desensitized to. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, the Bible is a form of media.
And that's another thing we didn't really talk about a lot is the desensitization factor of what they're trying to do in Hollywood. But let's continue on this trail we're going to. Yeah. I wanted to just say that we may have missed that sort of idea, that thought train. I was thinking of it and talking about it as more of a distraction.
Yeah.
Whereas it's...
Well, you mentioned it earlier, or you said it in a blip.
Did I?
That we were just getting desensitized towards things.
Yeah, and that's definitely a possibility. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you take them as normal. Like I said, we get swayed just by the music of the situation. Like, we think that that's supposed to be a good thing. Like, we think that this thing's okay because someone smiled afterwards that we're familiar with on screen.
Yeah.
You know, and then we're like, okay, well, it's a good thing. Like, we all feel this way together.
That's such an interesting phenomenon. And I'm going to talk about that in a second, but I did want to bring up, we're harping very briefly on Pizzagate, and that is a whole thing that you should look into yourself.
This is still ongoing. Like, they're basically, I read a big article, I can't remember exactly where it's from, Politico whatever. But Hillary Clinton is still on trials for her emails.
Yeah.
And which all involved this huge scandal that's going on, and they will not give up. Like, she is going to like the highest regards to not have to what is it called when you ask person questions on camera, or not on camera, but take written word of what they say. What is it called? You get someone's
manuscript.
No, you get someone's statement before a trial. Deposition. Sorry, okay. She won't give a deposition on this. On the subject.
Wow, that's nuts. So one of the other very questionable quotes. I have two more actually.
It's weird.
So this is the most questionable one. The realtor found a handkerchief. And this is all a real quote that I wrote. The realtor found a handkerchief in parentheses. I think it has a map that seems pizza related. In parentheses, is it yours? ?
What the fuck does that mean?
Why would a handkerchief have a map that seems pizza related on it? What is?
Yeah, it's not even a coherent sentence.
I know that it's not what it could be. It's what it can be proven to be in court. But Jesus Christ, what? Right. How?
Even if it doesn't gleam down to like actual pedophilia, I want to know what the hell is going on there. Well, you know, they're obviously not talking about pizzas and handkerchiefs. What the fuck is going on?
I've talked to you about how I think it has something to do with that thing adrenochrome.
Yeah.
You guys should look into what adrenochrome is.
That's quite a subject to get involved in.
Yeah, we're not going to do that right now. We can probably have a whole fucking topic on hallucinogens, and we'll probably do that. But adrenochrome is, if you don't have any idea, it's something that's produced in I think it's produced in the pineal gland, and it comes from spinal fluid, whatever. It just makes you trip out super hard. It gives you a crazy high or a crazy
you produce it when you're under a lot of stress and have a lot of adrenaline going, apparently, right?
Right. So so when you produce it when you're going to die.
Yeah.
So basically that's what I think is happening, is that they're sacrificing kids or anybody who's pure-ish and then having these crazy trips and associating them with God. That's what I think is happening.
I 100% believe that whoever starts this episode thinking it's going to be about Hollywoods and like pop culture, and they get to this point, it's about eating children and sacrificing them.
We have very much avoided the film industry for this episode. Maybe we should title it something else.
I think it's great though, because it all is super related. We're not talking about pop culture in the sense of what you would imagine it to be like, because that's a part of the problem, right?
Because neither of us give a fuck about pop culture.
Yeah,
this podcast is all about having serious conversations, deep existential conversations.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about pop culture.
A lot of the pop culture is just a lot of way to distract you and make you feel happy about your boring life.
Yep, that's right.
You know, you get to go to the movies on Friday night with your spouse and feel like you live in a world of someone else and some fairy tale that's on the screen.
Right, but you pay $60 fucking to do it.
So just keep doing what you're doing, man. Right. Just enjoy yourself.
But
there's probably some other weird shit going on.
There's a lot of weird shit going on. Trust me, I'm a doctor.
I'm a doctor, yes.
The last quote that I definitely wanted to say is that this is in quotations, I think Obama spent $65,000 flying in pizza and hot dogs from Chicago for a private party at the White House. $65,000 for pizza and hot dogs.
That could fill the White House. That's a lot of slippery dogs.
Yeah, what kind of fucking party are you having?
And what rich people are eating dogs and pizza? They could have that place filled with like fucking truffles and caviar or some shit.
Right.
You know, what are you talking about?
I don't know. I would like pizza and hot dogs.
I know. I'm sure they enjoy it as well. But I was just making a point.
$65,000.
It's just completely false. There's just no way.
Nah.
I just hope to God that they're not fucking flying in children and sex slaves to bear them children so that they can eat them and sacrifice them. I really don't want that to be a real thing. But you know, apparently JFK was trying to go against the system, and then that's what happened to him. So.
Right, but they like eat human shaped cakes and
that's some weird ass shit. Like big celebrities involving back in Hollywood go to these parties where they make food that looks exactly like people with their guts cut out, like real life looking fucking people that have cuts and like are tortured, and they just eat through them, and it looks like they're eating blood and real people. It's a real thing.
Yeah,
you can look it up. Celebrities do it. I have no idea.
A little odd.
Yeah,
a little teeny bit odd.
And that was kind of alluding to my question earlier when I was just saying that, like, do you think that these actual celebrities skew the message a little themselves? I think a lot of them, and you said that, I think a lot of them are really involved with what's going on here.
Yeah.
And maybe they don't even know the whole truth and the whole thing behind it, but I think they have like a pretty good idea into this life that we're not really involved in. And it's fucking weird.
Yeah.
And it's all out there for people to find. But again, it's hard to draw it all together yourself unless you really sit down and do your homework.
Yeah, it is. And we could talk about this for hours and hours, but we try to limit our escapades to about an hour and a half. And so with our last segment, this is going to at least be an hour and a half. But I did want to touch on one little thing real quick. And one of my last bits of research came from researching Dave Chappelle and why he left the country. So that was an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Why he abandoned $50 million and went to Africa.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing to talk about. So he was explaining to a crowd at a small comedy show why he did so. And he told his story through a different story about a pimp.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically the moral of the story was, if you hurt someone or do something bad to somebody, but then alleviate them of that pain, make them feel good, and give them the things that they actually want, they'll appreciate the things that you gave them more than they'll have remorse or repent for the things that you did to them, and then they'll forget that you were the one that hurt them.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a very interesting thought. Because I feel like that's a lot of what America does. Maybe not just America, but governments of the world.
I think people in just normal relationships do that kind of shit.
That's just like a common recurring theme.
Yeah, if you can treat somebody like shit and then just give them something so they completely get over it. Yeah, that amongst, food or anything else, whatever, they eventually just go, maybe it wasn't that bad. I like this thing. I'll keep doing it. And then they just get trapped in this fucking like cyclical, abusive type situation.
If that doesn't sound resemblant of what America is like today, call me fucking crazy.
It seems pretty dead on.
Yeah, because they do a bunch of shit that we don't like, and then they're like, oh my God, the economy's booming. America's great.
Yeah, exactly. Here's your stimulus check.
Yeah, right. So that's just something to think about, guys.
Which I heard we're getting a second one.
If you trick someone into doing something against their interest, they realize what you've done, and then you tell them, or they realize what they've done after you've tricked them into it, and they don't realize that you were the one that tricked them into this in the first place. You tell them that you have their back. As long as you continue doing what they're doing, they're going to keep doing it.
It's a pretty awful way to manipulate the human psychology.
Yeah, and that's how pimps did it.
That's just how
the U.S. is pimping us out,
it's
bro.
just how people do it on a general level. That's just extrapolated to the government doing it to people or whatever this entity is aside from the government that's controlling the people. But it's very easy to get people to continue swaying in your direction, because I think there really is just that. I can't say everyone. Obviously, everyone's not going to just keep flowing in this that repetitive nature. But you have your difference of people being leaders and followers. I feel like in the vast majority, or not the vast majority, but I think the majority of people maybe are much easier just kind of following that flow and just like taking the abuse and going back and forth. As long as they get some happiness here and there, they're kind of fine. They can justify the rest of it, right? Yeah. But then there's a lot of people that are just like, no, I want to create my own, perspective and reality for myself and not be like subjugated to this influence. Yeah. But I think I don't know. I think it's part of human nature. And if you can be manipulated, people will manipulate you. Yeah. Control and power is the best thing that we can have. And Hollywood is very much involved in having control and power over the people.
That's right, guys. So if you've learned nothing from this episode, realize that the CIA is involved in Hollywood. Why the fuck would they be involved in Hollywood? I don't know. Maybe go find out for yourself.
Yeah, who knows? They are totally a part of it, though.
But we're going to play a game to end.
Yes.
And end on a light note instead of talking about eating babies and shit.
And how much you really don't know about your own existence.
That's right. So we're going to play Superfight.
Superfight. We've played this game multiple times. You get a character, a couple attributes, then we fight it out to see who would win.
That's right. And I'm going to give you a character.
Please do.
Out of the middle of the deck.
Please do.
Boom. I'm going to give myself a character out of the middle of the deck.
Ooh, I like this character.
I'm not even looking at mine.
I feel good about this. I'm just going to
take a couple of sections
By the way,
out.
for the people that haven't seen this very often, I do not win very much.
Because he sucks at debating.
I think a lot of it's skewed by the cards, so don't listen to Chase. But I think the last time I maybe came out on top, and then every other time other than last time, I've not done very well.
One. Take another random one.
See, like some of this shit, it's just like you might as well just burn the card and get rid of it. It just doesn't mean anything.
You have to be good at arguing to win some of these. All right.
You do. You really have to think outside the box.
Let's see what I got.
Let's hear it.
I got a good start. Oh my lord.
This is not good. I'm nervous.
Okay.
I'm nervous.
All right. Let's reveal our character cards first.
Okay.
I'm a dragon.
I'm a bodybuilder.
Wow. Nice. You're in
not
a bad place right now.
Yeah. Well, it depends on what kind of bodybuilder they are.
Versus a dragon. Good luck.
Wit versus instinct.
Dragons are still smart.
Not as smart as a human. I wouldn't think so.
In some fairy tales,
they did.
Smaug was very intelligent.
I was gonna say they didn't make it through evolution. So
yeah, and wit won't really matter if you're covered in super scales and can breathe fire.
That's true. All right, let's proceed.
Okay.
Before you get off.
In a jet fighter, which doesn't even matter for a dragon, but whatever.
Well, he's in there and he ain't getting out, so he's pretty much just a jet.
There's ejection seats and stuff.
Okay. Has a battleship.
Wow. Okay,
yes,
we're making things interesting. This is good.
Yes,
this is
I
good.
could do a lot with the battleship.
But it is one bodybuilder in a huge battleship.
Yeah, but that just makes it harder to find him. Is he in the control room? Is he over here?
Right, but it also makes it very difficult for you to actually use the battleship.
True, but I imagine him to be a wizard in that, and he's just clicking buttons everywhere. He's just
what kind of fucking bodybuilder are you talking about?
He's just got like some 50 cal. He's going after it. Proceed.
You have way too much faith in your. Can match opponent's size, which doesn't matter. He can doesn't mean he will because he's already way bigger.
And wearing a tinfoil hat.
Oh dear lord. I'm terrified.
Yeah,
so he is definitely a wizard.
Yeah. He's just a weird fuck. If there's one guy wearing a tinfoil hat running around with big muscles on a battleship, I'm already a little freaked out. Maybe he should die. Maybe I'll join your team instead.
I would take the dragon without any of my attribute cards.
And you think he'd beat a whole battleship?
Yes. with one bodybuilder, one dumbass at the helm of an entire battleship.
This battleship,
it's not even gonna do anything.
This battleship has like infrared. Like he doesn't have to aim every weapon. They just shoot at what's coming towards them.
That's not
on
how
the radar.
battleships work, bro.
Well, have you ever
battleships aren't
operated
completely
a battleship?
automated? Of course I haven't, but there's a reason that there's like a huge control room of people.
Nah,
in a
I doubt
battleship.
that. I really don't believe in that. There's probably like 2 or 3 people in there at least.
Yeah.
They just set the guns on auto shoot. They find whatever's out there and they blast it down. You're not even going to get close to my battleship.
Bruh, you have one bodybuilder controlling. He's not a Navy person, whatever. He's not a Navy soldier.
You don't know that.
He doesn't know what he's looking at.
You don't know that. There could be a naval bodybuilder. Who knows?
Yeah, well,
maybe he was
that's
born
something you're just making up.
And raised on that battleship, and he knows the ins and outs. He has the battle. It's his battleship. He doesn't just have it and not know what to do with it. He's well versed. There's at least a way that he can operate one gun, and it takes a long time for a big ass dragon to reach wherever it's coming from, down to my battleship, inside the control room, which is not going to happen anyways, and then try to make it in to eat me or something. I have way too much weaponry for you to get close to me.
I want to say that the dragon probably wouldn't have a terribly hard time sinking the battleship. And let me tell you why.
It's a battleship. It's a battleship. It gets shot by other battleships.
Does it get flamethrowered on an incredible degree?
It gets fucking like cannons and missiles shot at it, which probably damage it, but
yeah, probably. Yeah, it definitely damages it.
But just the fire out, like their fire doesn't just go immensely far. They have to be pretty close. And this man's just breathing hot air on the side of a metal ship.
My dragon also has a jet fighter.
Well, what is that gonna do?
What do you mean? What is that gonna do? It has missiles.
A dragon can't operate a jet fighter.
Well, apparently it can. It's inside one. And then when it runs out of missiles to shoot, it'll eject and then go fuck more.
Even that, I can shoot down a ship. That's what the guns that line this whole battleship are for.
Part of what I'm telling you is that your guy would operate one gun at a time, maximum.
Sure. But how is your dragon gonna get in there to destroy my battle?
He'll sink it.
Battleship.
He'll sink it.
That doesn't.
Yeah,
that doesn't make
He'll
my guy
slowly destroy the guns
doesn't
on
make
top.
my guy die. He could still be living, and he just wouldn't have a battleship.
But then
anymore.
he'll have to leave the battleship and then get killed by the dragon.
He would get. Well, he'd still have his hat on, so don't forget about that.
That's true. Yeah, it'll make him easier to spot in the sunlight.
Exactly.
Thank you for letting me know that.
Maybe some other battleship will come pick me up.
Yeah, maybe.
I'd say you have a hard time getting to me, man. I really don't think I think a jet fighter could definitely down a battleship, but a dragon by itself would have no chance versus a whole big ship.
Well, it would have just as much of a chance as your bodybuilder would in the battleship trying to kill a rogue dragon that's just kind of everywhere.
So we're at a 50-50 split here is what you're saying.
I have something I could use as a kamikaze.
You could.
And I could maybe argue that I could make my dragon as big as the battleship.
That's not the battleship. But
the battleship is my opponent. Not the fucking bodybuilder.
Well, nope. This guy's your opponent.
Well, okay. Well, then he won't match your size.
Yeah. No,
he's gonna stay
shit
big.
out of him. Actually, it might be better for him to do that. I mean, we'd have more of an even chance, but you'd be able to get more of the nooks and crannies of the ship if you had to.
If we're talking about a dragon from that movie Reign of Fire, your battleship is fucked.
Man, I don't think you could kamikaze my ship. I mean, just think of the sonar and radar and all the things I have. I'm gonna see you way before you get to me. And I'll already be shooting way before you'll get the chance to nosedive on
You have one gun. What are you going to do?
Well, maybe so, but it's a good gun. I can shoot this one for a while, and if you get closer, I'll shoot this one, and then by the time you get local, I'll shoot this one.
I don't think they just have triggers like that. I'm pretty sure they're operated via computer.
Maybe so. Even better precision and aim, so I'm not going to miss that
Of the bodybuilders I've met, they haven't been very good with computers.
You don't
They're
know
very
that.
good with pumping iron.
Quite an assumption.
They know how to operate
making
machines.
Him sound stupid, like he's gonna be dumb. But
the likelihood is pretty high.
He could be a genius though.
Pretty high.
And he could look at that shit, and it could just be second nature. And he's vibing. He's shooting things at you from miles away.
I think you have a solid chance. I think my dragon would be too evasive, and
not if it's in the jet fighter.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He can eject from the jet fighter.
Oh, then he's definitely toast.
No. Well, how can you say he's definitely vulnerable in a jet fighter? He's especially vulnerable if he gets out of the jet fighter.
The jet fighter is a big straightforward shooting thing, and it's easy to hit with a computer. And then if he gets out of that, then he's very slow and big, and he's not even going to get close to my ship.
Not slow.
I mean, compared to a jet fighter, he'd be very slow.
Sure.
So I would be able to shoot him from years away. There would be no problem.
You are trailing on thin ice.
I am, but I feel like I have quite a chance.
Like, think about the dragon. You have one gun. The battleship is very long. The dragon could get on the back of the battleship, and you wouldn't be able to do anything.
How would it have gotten there?
You'd have flown there.
No, by the time it would have even gotten close, it would have been shot already.
No.
Oh, for sure.
No.
I would imagine guns work in unison, and they all point towards a certain thing.
No.
And you say, hey, these guns...
That's definitely not how that works.
These guns shoot at this thing on the radar, and then they track your ass. I got heat-seeking missiles,
you're
bitch.
Wrong.
And they're just coming after you from every direction.
You're wrong.
But for real, there's probably
dragons are cold-blooded.
No, I doubt it.
They are.
With the fire that comes
all
out of their
reptiles are cold-blooded. Dragons are cold-blooded.
No.
Yeah, they are.
No, heat-seeking missiles.
You can't argue with that.
No, I can't argue
Anything
with
with scales is cold-blooded.
So then
that's inarguable.
So it won't be able to use its fire ever then.
Oh, no, of course it will. But it'll be on the ship. And dragon fire is very hot. Hotter than normal fire. It'll melt that bitch.
I don't know. I'm at a point where I would agree to disagree.
I think it's a close fight.
It is a close fight. Because it's going to be very hard for you to get aboard. If you get aboard,
I'm just saying objectively, I would take a dragon without either of my two things over a bodybuilder in a battleship.
No.
I would.
No,
I totally would.
No. You underestimate battleship.
That's like...
I have a rail gun, okay, on my battleship.
Says? Not all battleships have rail guns.
I didn't say all of them. I just need to have this battleship.
So you're just making shit up. Yeah, my battleship has this super top secret weapon on it that nobody's ever seen, so it can really kill anything in any radius.
Yes, I have a ship that is prepared for battle.
Doesn't mean it has a rail gun on it.
Well, whatever kind of weaponry it has is far sufficient over one dragon.
I might as well say my dragon has a fucking machine gun.
No, even if he did, he has short hands. He wouldn't really be able to fire it very hard.
You're talking about T-Rexes, you fucking idiot.
They're kind of, it's like a flying T-Rex.
I don't think so. You're thinking of like a Dragonite from Pokemon. It's not like that.
I think you're right. I think Dragonite.
I'm thinking of like Smaug.
I don't know what
versus
that is.
A battleship. Smaug?
Yeah.
You haven't seen the Hobbit movies?
No, I haven't.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
I haven't. I don't watch it on TV. Sorry.
You haven't read The Hobbit?
No, I can't read.
I really hate you right now.
I look at pictures and listen to sounds. All right, I'm done winning this conversation.
All right, guys. If you think a dragon would destroy a bodybuilder on a battleship. This man's
one
person trying
to operate
a battleship.
This man is out of his mind. It's not the whole battleship. I don't have to drive it anywhere. I just got to shoot the guns on it.
Yeah, that's still a problem.
It's not a problem. I'm done. I'm over it.
This man is assuming that the battleship has just triggers on them like normal guns, and he can just go fire.
You just say,
"Look at this! I can shoot like that."
Heat-seeking missiles go after this hot source. Jets down. Shoot another one. Dragons down. Game over. I didn't have to shoot any other weapon. 2 missiles, and we're out of here. You underestimate technology, sir.
No, you are overestimating your bodybuilder, sir.
Perhaps.
He probably can't even itch his own back.
This could be... You don't know that. This could be a very genius... This could be like the Hulk. I mean, he's a genius.
But in Hulk form, no, he's not.
He is a genius.
Not in Hulk form.
Well, at the very end, he is. Because he's both. So... I win.
Oh my god. All right, guys, if you think I'm right, let me know in the comments. If you think Brennan's wrong, please let me know
in the comments as well.
Right.
Yes, but thank you for tuning in. We know it was kind of a crazy talk we had. I rather enjoyed it myself.
We got a little bit off subject, a lot of bit off subject.
Yeah, but it all kind of came together. We just have not your typical idea of what Hollywood might be to most people.
Yeah.
We were not here to talk about famous people.
The moral of the story is enjoy movies you see, but think skeptically about them and about the ideas that you've been given through your entire life through the movie industry.
And how they skew you to feel, act, and think about every situation you're put into.
That's right. So, guys, if you enjoyed this and you're still with us, please leave a like, maybe a comment. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We need
Yes.
as many subscribers as we can get.
That would be cool.
Yes, it would. Thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate you.
Cause and Defect.
Yep. It's a show for serious conversations with not so serious people. I am Chase Duncan.
I am Rutherford Bingwald.
I thought you were going to say Rutherford B. Hayes, and that would have... I think that's where your mind was going, and then you forgot where it was going, and
That's
then
very
you
typical
just
of me.
said something
Halfway
stupid.
through sentences, I forget. Anyways, my name is Brendan Jones. Cause and Defect.
You guys take it easy.
Later.